Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Proud to be here with you this morning inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You're also watching on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and I appreciate y'all being here and hanging out with us where sports truly meets life. Cafe Kubal with locations on 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, 324 West Water Street, and 208 North Townsend Street, as well as the mobile cafe that will come to your place of business as well as your community, and of course their local delivery that will come straight to your doorstep. I appreciate your patience this morning, appreciate you being here with us, and my apologies on making you wait. That's not something that we like to do here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and it's not something that we will do again. So with that being said, we have a fantastic show here for you where sports truly meets life, and Papa Joe will be joining us here in just a second. Very excited to have PJ on the line with us in just a moment, and when PJ joins us, we'll be talking about topics within the Jacksonville Jaguars as well as within the NFL and college football. So very excited to be able to share those things with you today. And we'll have a great time with those topics coming up in just a little bit. Plenty to talk about with the Jaguars as well as the NFL and college football in hour number one, and that will spill a little bit into hour number two with our picks inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. And then we will shift into my conversation at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time with Harvey Grant, former NBA and college basketball player, who is also the father of two current NBA players, Jerian and Jeremy Grant. So, speaking with Harvey about playing in the NBA with his brother and then having his sons as brothers play in the NBA, which is pretty awesome. So, the Grant family will be well represented in just a little while here at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time with Harvey Grant joining the show. So, with all that being said, PJ is with us here on the broadcast, so we are more than excited to welcome him into the show per always. Papa Joe, how we doing?
Good morning, Daniel. Just loving life down here.
You know, and PJ, for you, we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things to talk about. Jacksonville Jaguars first and foremost. The fact that James Robinson has been an incredible asset to the Jaguars. He was an undrafted free agent out of Illinois State in this year's 2020 NFL Draft. He has obviously proven that you don't have to be a Leonard Fournette SEC running back to find success on this team. He's had success no matter who's been injured on the offensive line, no matter how bad their games are. A 1-11 record. This guy gets 2 touchdowns in a game. He gets 100 yards in a game. He gets 80 yards in a game and a touchdown. I mean, every single week he seems to be the bright spot. Is there anybody that you would put above him, or is James Robinson the true brightest spot of a 1-11 Jaguars?
Well, he is certainly a breath of fresh air. He's a remarkable young man. I really applaud what he's done. You know, just making the team of an NFL roster is significant enough for most young men. But to actually make the team, go through the cuts, start, and produce the way he's doing, I never saw it coming. I'm very glad he's here. He is, if there's such a thing as being 0-20 with the Jaguars, they probably would do that without this kid. He is, if you need 3 yards and a cloud of dust on the first down, he's going to get it to you. You know, after saying that, you know, you review some of the things that happened. First of all, let me preface my comment here. The Jaguars played their hearts out again last time, Minnesota. This is 3 weeks in a row. 3 weeks in a row they had a chance to win the game. They're not as bad as the record thinks they are. They played hard. I told you this, and I told them Marone's got these guys playing, and he must have he's a big teddy bear. We know that. He reminds me of Andy Reid, but he's getting these guys to still play hard for him. And it's remarkable what you're seeing. I mean, 3 weeks in a row they had a chance to win the game in the last 5 minutes or so. Unfortunately, he couldn't get it right, but it doesn't matter. When you look at the Jaguars' future, they got the bookends at tackles, and they have an excellent wide receiver coming through with Collin Johnson. who is 6'6", 220 pounds, and can absolutely get the ball. I don't know what they've been doing with this guy. He should have been playing a lot more before now, because if you got Johnson and Chenault as your wide receivers, and you got Little Robinson as your running back, the offense looks really, really, really good for the Jaguars going forward. And I'm very excited about that. Even though the team record sucks, I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. But they're still playing hard. I applaud that, and I really I want to see who's going to take over the team and see what they can do. Anytime you got a guy that's 6'6", can run the way this guy does and jump with guys to bring down a pass, it's remarkable. I'm very pleased. I can't be dissuaded about the effort these guys have been given. I've been a Jaguar fan for 20-something years, and I'm critical too, just like any other pundit, but they have played the last 3 games to win. They've just got to get over that, but, that's the way it is. So with Robinson being a stalwart in the backfield, they got these 2 wide receivers that looks like they're going to be the future of the Jaguars, along with Shark and those boys. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, and the thing is every I say it on the show all the time, every quarterback has their guy. And the question was, who is this Collin Johnson guy, and why haven't we heard about him? And, nationally, but again, Mike Glennon was not the starting quarterback. Mike Glennon was the third stringer, which means he wasn't working out with the starters, he was working out with the backups. Collin Johnson was a backup. So, why is Collin Johnson relevant? Because Mike Glennon is obviously comfortable with him. And I think that, that's something that we don't talk about enough, or we really don't break down. To me, it's that simple. You're finding out about these guys because these are the guys that he's practicing with. These are the guys he's playing with. These are the guys he's repping with. And when you rep with somebody and you get comfortable with somebody, that's why you're going there. Chark's still involved. Laviska Shenault is still involved. But think about that, PJ. This guy comes out of nowhere. And how does he come out of nowhere? In my opinion, it's got to be because of the age-old tale of every quarterback has their guy, and each string practices with that string. And if Collin Johnson's down on the depth chart, Mike Glennon's down on the depth chart, they're working with one another, and that's why we're seeing Collin Johnson right now.
Well, that's true. But there's a physical attribute here I want to get to, too. Last week we discussed about, quarterbacks being tall and throwing downhill, and little guys that are 6 feet tall or less than that, like Russell Wilson, trying to move around and look for passing lanes. Glennon is so tall at 6'7", with a big arm swing. I think he looks at someone like Collin Johnson. He said, "Hey, I can throw this ball. Being my height, I can throw this ball on a rope high at my height, and this guy's going to go up and get it at 6'6". So I'm thinking he's loving something like that. I mean, he's not. You don't throw downhill to a 6'6" guy. So it's perfectly logical to me that Glennon likes to see a big receiver, and this guy's big, and this guy can run, this guy can jump. So I think that you're right. They probably did forge some type of camaraderie there, but just being 6'7" as a quarterback and looking across the line and finding someone at 6'6" and throwing the ball up there and not throwing it downhill, I look for that.
Yeah, so it's pretty incredible what we're seeing right now with Collin Johnson raising himself up this depth chart. But, PJ, you look at this 1-11 team, and again, I think that, not to belabor the point, but these are the bright spots. I mean, they really are, in my opinion, the bright spots. Seeing what they've been able to do with Mike Glennon, seeing what they've done with Collin Johnson, seeing what they've done with James Robinson, and, obviously Glennon is not the future of the team, but the Collin Johnsons and the James Robinsons arguably are going to be the future of this team and can do some great things. And these are the guys that cost the cheapest. That's the other side of it too, is, they don't cost that much. You're not paying a lot of money for an undrafted rookie. And, in the case of James Robinson, in the case of Collin Johnson, he was a 5th-round pick out of Texas. So, and pick 165 overall this year. So you got 2 rookies leading the way right now. Tyler Eifert's been okay. DJ Chark has stayed relevant. Laviska Shenault has stayed relevant. Keelan Cole has been all over the place. So I mean, as you move forward, you still have a young group. We say this over and over and over again, but it's true. They're young. DJ Chark is young. Chenault is young. Johnson's young. Robinson's young. I mean, these guys are young, and they keep, finding these young players, these young skill players, these young weapons to come out there for them. They just need better leadership. They need better, and I'm not talking about the quarterback. I don't think Gardner Minshew is a bad quarterback. They just need better leadership from the top. It's not working. Doug Marrone is just not working. He's consistently fallen down. He went up and came down. And and that's the thing. I mean, at Syracuse he had a good record, not so good record, not so good record. When he was in Buffalo, it was meh, and then it got better, but he was only there for 2 years. Then he came to Jacksonville and he waited in the wings inside of Gus Bradley's staff, and I think he was planted there. And then, and because they already had an offensive coordinator and head coach, and they let Doug Marrone come with his own offensive coordinator at the time, a friend of mine, Nathaniel Hackett. And so when he came in, it was like, okay, Doug was okay, then he got better, and then he fell off again. So, I mean, the question is, Doug Marrone as a head coach, I mean, we've seen him for 4 seasons at Syracuse. We've seen him for that amount of time here in Jacksonville. And the reality of it all is he's not consistently good. He's okay, and it constantly changing the staff, except for the defensive coordinator, who has not changed since Gus Bradley. Todd Wash has kept his job all the way through. But I think at this point, I don't wish bad on anybody. I don't hope bad on anybody. I don't want anybody to lose their job. I'm looking at this from the standpoint of if I'm Shad Khan, I can't keep my locker room. I can't keep the morale of the team if I keep Doug Marrone and the rest of the staff. Like, I have to clean house. I have to clean it all. And Dave Caldwell, I think, gets blamed for a lot of it, but Doug Marrone's the guy that's supposed to coach the talent. So, I don't like what I'm seeing, because there's bright spots and there's good players, but I just don't like the leadership. And I haven't liked it. And I just don't think it's working. So, I mean, I could be crazy. I could be wrong. I don't know what you think, but I told you a year or two, what did I tell you? I mean, at least a year or two ago, I was like, I really don't like, I don't like Doug Marrone as the head coach of this team. I don't like his I just don't like the personality. I don't like the, a team that's down and out. I don't see him lifting them up, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he is a rah-rah guy somewhere, but I'm not moved by it. I told you that it was going to happen because I saw the writing on the wall, but that's not that I thought it was the best thing to happen. I just knew it was going to happen. And, I sit here this morning just scratching my head years later going like, why is Shad Khan so sold on having Fred Flintstone as the head coach? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, your points are well taken, of course, and it's not an easy situation. We know, of course, that Marrone and his staff are going to be let go. I mean, that's obvious, and I don't belabor the point because, I don't really want to talk about that. All I want to talk about is what happened the last 3 weeks where they've been down at the end of the game, almost grasping win, just close to grasping win. Now, if they were going to nail it in, they could have done it a long time ago. These last 3 weeks was great to see. And, let's talk about the quarterback for a while. Glennon's not an idiot. I mean, he's been around, and he's tall. He's a big guy, and he's got a good arm. Maybe he just needs someone that can plug him along. I mean, he made a mistake there at the end of the game where he tried to force that pass, and he probably just should have, sailed it and taken the fourth down and got the ball back. But, he recognized that mistake. Yeah. And frankly, going forward with Glennon, Minshew, and Luton, there's 3 pretty good guys there. Minshew's, he's still in the conversation. And there's a big article in today's paper. Minshew begged him to play me, quote unquote. He's got a big long article about pleading with Coach Marrone to get him in there. And of course, he's not really particularly ready to play yet. He needs to be sharper a little bit. I mean, his throws need to be tighter. His thumb is still bothering him, I'm sure. I mean, sure, he's a tough guy, but Gardner made a mistake, and Marrone caught him out. He called him out, and he said, "Listen," he said, you should have come to me and told me about this instead of trying to play through it. You can't be a quarterback in this league and have a broken thumb and expect it complete pass. You made a mistake. So now that mistake may cost him a starting job. I'm not sure. If Glennon continues to do what he's doing, I know we've said this so many times before, Daniel. Yeah. We've gone through so many quarterbacks here with the Bartles and all the rest of these guys, big, tall guys, strong arms. You know, if Glennon does well for the rest of the year, there's only a couple games left. I mean, it's food for thought. But it's going to do. It's going to conflict with any type of plan that the Jaguars got going forward. That's why I think he's looking to get a GM on base real close, because he's going to evaluate the team, evaluate the coaches, and then he's going to dictate to us, do we need a quarterback or not? And that's where we stand right now. I personally think it's 50-50 right now. If Glennon's playing the way he's doing and almost won the last 3 games, even with Luton there, there's things, something to think about.
Well, you know, speaking here with Papa Joe this morning inside of our Thursday post here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in the Cafe Cubal studios, you know, all I hear people talk about is quarterback. You know, what quarterback is Jacksonville going to get? Are they going to get Trevor Lawrence? Are they going to get Justin Fields? And I'm sitting here going, Gardner Minshew's not a bad quarterback. Mike Glennon's not a bad quarterback. Jake Luton's not a bad quarterback. Why do they need another quarterback? You know, I mean, obviously when they made it as far as they made it, their defense was talented throughout. You know, Miles Jack first coming in. Malik Jackson was on the team, which I think was a mistake to let him go. You know, Calais Campbell, I think it was a mistake to let him go. A.J. Boye, I think it was a mistake to let him go. They also had Jalen Ramsey. They had Telvin Smith. They, you know what I mean? They had Paul Posluszny. You know, I mean, this team needs help defensively, and they need to have guys that are healthy on the offensive line. They've proven that they could take a running back that nobody knows and turn him into something. Take a wide receiver that nobody knows and turn him into something. They have 3 strings of quarterbacks, and they're still in games right now with their 3rd-string guy. A lot of guys in the NFL a lot of teams in the NFL can't say that. So I don't think the quarterback's a problem. I don't think the skill player on offense is the problem. I think the problem is the offensive line, the defensive line, and the defense in general, and the coaching staff. You know, I mean, the reality of it all is, what is Trevor Lawrence going to do? You know what I mean? He comes in, and is he going to play defense? Is he going to kick field goals? You know, people forget the fact that Josh Lambo, who to me is one of the best kickers out there, this man came into the season, did it, you know, does what he does, gets hurt, came back, got hurt again. So, you know, Jacksonville's just been picking up these random name guys. The guy missed a field goal, drops him, gets another guy. You know, so people are forgetting the fact that even in these close games, like the game that they just had with Minnesota, they don't have a kicker they could trust. They lose by 3. Against the Browns, they don't have a kicker they could trust. They lose by 2. So, you know, they lose to the Packers by 4. So, I mean, these were all winnable games, close games, you know, a field goal game, or in the case of Green Bay, a 4-point game. And so it's not like they're playing horribly. It's not like they're playing horribly on the road. You know, they're doing what they need to do. The Browns are a 9-3 team. The Vikings aren't a bad team, and they played them like they played them. They're going up against Delvin Cook and company. The Packers are a strong team. They played them on the road strong. You know, so, I mean, those games, when you look back at them, I mean, they went to the Titans in Tennessee and played them close in Tennessee 33-30. So there's a lot to be said about what this team has done and what they can do. I just don't think that drafting a 4th quarterback is going to be the answer. But unfortunately, when a team is losing and they're going to be close to the number 1 pick, if not have the number 1 pick, everybody wants to talk about the quarterback that's going to be the franchise player. And I don't think that's what Jacksonville needs. I think that they have capable quarterbacks, capable running backs, and capable receivers. I think the problems are elsewhere.
I think you're right. And I'm going to wonder, as we sit here and talk every Thursday, what's going to happen in the next 3 or 4 weeks when, say, they win 1 game and lose 2 or 3 or something like that, and they're up in line for picking a quarterback. If Kahn hires a shrewd GM, a shrewd football man, he's going to know what to do with that draft pick. I see no reason why they shouldn't trade the draft pick. If they're going to be up there number 1, 2, or 3 in the selection, and they're not going to pick a quarterback, well, hell, I'd get a couple of first rounders and shore up the defense, and you already got your offense pretty well set. I mean, you probably could use a big stud tight end, even though Eifert disappoints me a little bit this year. O'Shaughnessy, I've always liked O'Shaughnessy. Tough guy. But, these are conversations that a GM is going to have with the Khans, father and son, and they're going to have to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
If their plan is to not get a quarterback and trade the picks, I'm for that too. If Glennon looks like he's going to be the deal, I'm for that also. I just want him to win, and I also want him to be competitive. Look, we could have written them off. They could have written themselves off a month ago, and they haven't. They played hard. They played hard. And the NFL is not an easy league, and these men are very, very tough. You've got to be tough to play in the NFL. That's for sure. And you got to play tough to play. You got to play tough when you're only winning one game. And if you're still in some of these games, by the end of the game, you're still in some of these games. Well, that's food for thought. I mean, that's something to build on. So perhaps maybe we won't talk about the quarterback anymore. And if they want to draft a quarterback, fine. If Minshew's not going to be the answer, if Glenn's not going to be the answer, I don't know. Minshew, I still seem to think has a lot of playmaking ability. We know that Glennon doesn't move too well, but Minshew did a different story now. Minshew brings a different skill set to the position, and he already knows how important that these wide receivers and Robinson's going to be to the defense, to the offense. So I look for him to really establish himself next year when the teams report.
Yeah, speaking here with Papa Joe this morning inside of the Cafe Kubal studios here on Wake Up Call, the quarterback isn't the problem. The problem is if Jacksonville has a top 3 pick and they don't take Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, and these guys are competitive and they're good in the NFL, then they'll look back on this 5-10 years from now and say, look at what they passed on. But the thing is how can you say that when a team doesn't need that position? If they don't need it, it's like, what if a team has an amazing defensive end? They're going to pass on another amazing defensive end. So it's just, everything is relative. You can't sit here and go, well, the Jaguars passed on Trevor Lawrence. How stupid are they? If they don't need a quarterback, which I don't think they do, everybody gets hung up on quarterbacks, right? It's a big, big, big conversation. And everybody always wants to talk about the quarterback. Jacksonville passed on Deshaun Watson. Well, that's when they thought they had somebody. So it's not like they had nobody. They thought they had somebody. I think their situation now is better. Jake Luton was a steal. Gardner Minshew was a steal. Mike Glennon was a steal. The 3 of them combined don't cost half of the contract of a top NFL quarterback. So they're saving money. They got talent. They have strings of talent back up to a backup. And so to me, I think you just look elsewhere and you find something else on this team. PJ, what to you, when you look at these games and how close the Jacksonville Jaguars have been playing, is it positive at the end of the game for you? Is it frustrating? Is it both? That, this is a team that, like you said, could have mailed it in, could have locked it up, could have said goodbye, but they haven't. So, Gardner Minshew last year when this team had a couple games to go and a terrible record, he was seen in the locker room screaming, yelling, telling these, in everybody's face in a positive way, not like screaming angry. He's like loud and he's yelling at these guys going like, this is what we do. This is how we play. Like, this is Jacksonville football. We don't give up. Doesn't matter what our record is. We're playing until the season's over. We're playing until the wheels fall off. And I loved seeing that video where he was like, I don't care what our record is. I don't care what people think of us. We're going to play every game. We're going to win every game. We're not going to just end the season because we had a bad record. And so, you have that type of leadership on your team, you keep it. The positivity on the team, you and I talked about it. When Jalen Ramsey was in the corner bouncing up and down, crying, wanting everybody to pay attention to him, I said they should shift to Gardner Minshew. You and I said it. Shift to him. Sell his stuff. Sell his bandanas. Sell the mustache and all of that. And he was, what I would think, is that one of the best-selling products they've ever had. They put him on lanyards. They put him on everything. T-shirts, socks. I don't think there was any of his jerseys left. You you had to customize a jersey to get a Gardner Minshew jersey. You actually had to customize it, and I think they were running out of stuff on that. So the reality of it all is they at least listen to us or caught the same brainwave that we had of focus on Gardner Minshew. I'm still waiting on my check. I know you're waiting on yours. But the reality of it all is they've used Gardner Minshew over and over and over again. So if they use him and then they decide to abuse him and draft a quarterback, they need to let him go. And, because he is not the issue and he is not the problem. So when you look at these games and this man is begging to play, I have two questions. Number one, what do you think about the fact that he came out and said, I've literally begged Doug Marrone to let me play? I mean, this is a guy on a 1-11 team. Normally quarterbacks are like, screw you, I'm going to go elsewhere. I'm not playing at all. I mean, normally people are like, not even a quarterback. There's players on teams that are on losing teams that are like, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't care. And they act like a baby and they sit on the bench. He's doing the opposite of what I've anticipated some people to do in his situation because they've done it. He wants to play on a 1-11 team. So number one, what do you think of that? And number two, what do you take away from these close games? Does it make you feel good about the future? Does it make you frustrated? Does it make you both? What can you say?
Well, I think we'll go back to the beginning of your comments when you're talking about leadership.
Yeah.
It's quite obvious that they need a better leadership. We know that, but that's we're not going to beat a dead horse. I look at Gruden as being an offensive coordinator, and I'm thinking that he has done the right thing the last 3 weeks by allowing his team to play, maybe conservatively a little bit, but Glenn has still airmailed it out. And, I think that Gruden has got him in a position where they have to have someone make a play, and they don't have that. Of course, that's probably leadership, it's true. But if you isolate, just like you do on basketball, you isolate one player and try to get a first down or something like that down the field. That's the way you play the game. I mean, you don't beg. I mean, of course, you beg that the play is going to go through, but you got to be able to have someone get up there and make a play like this 6'6" Johnson kid. Now, if you need a down and out for 20 yards, and you go show back shoulder to Johnson, he's going to catch it at 6'6". Forget about. I don't care what kind of defense you got on. And Chenault, we know what Chenault is. Chenault's a beast. So they're so close. I mean, I hate to keep belaboring the point, but they're just so close that they could have won these last 3 weeks. They played down to the wire, and look who they played. They played Green Bay in Green Bay. Are you kidding me? You don't play Green Bay close in Green Bay. I don't care if Green Bay's 0-10. You don't play Green Bay close in Green Bay. But they have. Look at that. There's nothing that I can say that's going to help their cause. All I'm trying to do is be supportive. I think that whoever the GMs come in, I hope he's got a great football mind. I hope he sits down with maybe not his coaching staff because they're going to be gone. He's going to have a big old chalkboard up on his office, and he's going to have players all around it and notes every which way, and he's got this and this and this. That's what I think his biggest problem is going to be is trying to find a coaching staff that wants to deal with these kind of kids.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, when you have to find a change in leadership. It's stale. It's stale right now. It's stale in Jacksonville. They need to change that. And that's not me wishing bad on anybody that's there. It's just stale, and it needs to change. PJ and I will take a step aside here for a fast break. When we come back, plenty more conversation coming up on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're happy to have you here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Locations on 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, 324 West Water Street, as well as 208 North Townsend Street. And I suggest you get your tail out there so that you can enjoy a pumpkin spice chai DT special. All you got to do is ask for the DT special pumpkin spice chai, and they'll hook you up and get you right. I got mine yesterday. You need to get yours today. When we come back, PJ and I will go around the NFL, speaking on how the Jets could fire their defensive coordinator, but not their head coach. We'll talk about all of that coming up here, as well as Carson Wentz being demoted for Jalen Hurts. the LSU self-imposed one-year bowl ban on a season where they're not going to a bowl game. So that's always fun, too. We'll talk about all of that and more as we come back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. College football and NFL talk right after this fast break where sports truly meets life. We appreciate you being here, and thank you so much for spending time with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. College football and NFL talk right after
this restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code ABS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavocolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avocolis, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or, of course, the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trapper's Pizza Pub. Trapper's Pizza Pub, your local community supporter right around the corner.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. I'm smiling because I love my life, and we always have great commercial breaks here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, so happy to be here with you, happy to have some fun. PJ's here with us, of course, every Thursday morning in hour number 1, spilling a little bit into hour number 2, inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. You're watching on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, bang, and you are listening on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, all of it inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, and PJ is the first of 2 guests today inside of Monpaz Popcorn.com's What's Poppin'. PJ can get his popcorn ready. I can get mine ready the same way by going to MaandPazPopcorn.com and using the promo code DT20. That's DT20. If you use my personal code, you will get 20% off of your order of anything on MaandPazPopcorn.com's website. So make sure you do it. PJ and I talking about different topics going around college football and the NFL. We just spoke on the Jaguars, and hopefully their future will be brighter than the current moment right now. I do believe there's a lot of there's good players on there. There's good talent, young talent. We just need somebody to foster that talent into a winning program. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're looking for. With that being said, to stay with the NFL, PJ and I have some things to get into here, some storylines, and let's, speaking of coaches and who's getting fired and whatnot, how does Adam Gase? Now you got to follow me back a couple years. Adam Gase was let go by the Dolphins because Adam Gase wasn't winning, and really nothing good was happening. So the Jets had an open head coaching. They had a head coaching vacancy. And something inside of them said, hey, you know that guy that we play twice a year in our division of the AFC East that sucks as a head coach? He should be our head coach. That man can't get anything done. Let's let him get nothing done here. So they bring him up the East Coast. It makes no logical sense. And then as time goes by and the team has not won a game, they're keeping Adam Gase and keeping Adam Gase and keeping Adam Gase and keeping Adam Gase. And then prevent defense is the one thing that you do at the end of the game. You send everybody back to the end zone knowing that they have to score a touchdown with a few seconds left. And instead, Gregg Williams asks for a blitz. Derek Carr steps forward. It looks like he took a half-court shot. He kind of just goes forward and throws the ball and watches it. And Henry Ruggs III comes down with it, and the Jets found another way to lose a game. It's amazing to me how teams try to find ways to win, and the Jets have found numerous ways to lose. They fire Gregg Williams, the defensive coordinator, after that call. But Adam Gase is still the head coach of a winless football team. So, I ask you the question, Papa Joe. Does Adam Gase have something on the owner? Does he have nude photos? Does he have like somebody trapped in a basement, saying like if you don't keep me as the head coach, I'll never give you the key of where this person is? I mean, this is like a horror movie, the movie Saw. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what he has, what money he's got, what pictures he has, but Adam Gase seemingly has something that is keeping him in this job. I don't think it's talent, and I don't think it's coaching. So how do you fire Gregg Williams but keep Adam Gase? And I guess the bigger question is, why did they hire Adam Gase in the first place?
Well, those are good questions. I mean, it's obviously he didn't have the best record at Miami. I don't know how some of these boards make their decisions, whether it's all a blanket deal by the GM or football operations, whoever's got the title to hire the coaches. Obviously, Gage is not the answer in New York, but your question poses a very difficult answer, being that Gregg Williams, who's an excellent defensive coordinator, I mean, we saw him when he was with New Orleans, when he had the bounty gate on. I mean, he's controversial, but damn, he's a good football coach. So he loses a job over this call. And if you're going to call a blitz in the last part of the game, you better be sure that you're jiving with your head coach. I mean, don't put him out on an island like that and say, "Why did you blitz?" When something like that was prevalent. So it's a tough call. Gase is not the answer there. New York might have their own problems with their own team. Certainly, they're going to find a quarterback. Although Arnold was doing a hell of a job. I mean, he's a good quarterback too. Just got hurt. So you got these teams, that have had new quarterbacks the last couple of years, 3 years. They're starting to come into their own. There's really not a lot of spots for a rookie quarterback to come in. Now, if some of them are, some of them do well, some of them don't. Look what they did to that poor Haskins in Washington. They just threw him to the wolves and said, "You do the best you can, son." And of course, he blew his brains out. I mean, he couldn't get anything done. I don't know how that guy can play football that good. I mean, I've only seen him 1 year, and we don't get Ohio State's games up here. So again, you draft on what you think the guy can do. Well, he didn't do the job either. So for whatever these football teams use for their criteria to select these, it's got to have something more than just X's and O's and completions and attaboys and all that kind of stuff. They got to have a working knowledge of the game. Minshew knows how to play the game. He knows Jay Gruden's offense. He knows he knows how to win. That's for sure because he played for Mike Leach. So, I'm hoping that he gets a chance next year, and maybe Glennon sticks around too. Luton won't be hanging around, I don't think, but someone will probably find a good spot for him. He's a very adequate backup if you give him a chance to learn a little bit. Sometimes these quarterbacks can come right in, like Joe Burrow, and just go right hell bent the leather right out of the gate. And sometimes these quarterbacks takes time to mature. So I don't know. I don't know what New York's answer is.
Yeah.
But their quarterback is a good job. Does a good job, a really good job. And I don't think that they're looking for a quarterback. I mean, the new GM and the new coach comes in. They're going to say something about that. But Sam Arnold, there's nothing wrong with him. He's got a big time on, and he's trying to just stay alive. He can get killed back there. If they said a blitz a rookie quarterback, they're going to get nailed. So
yeah,
it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of room for talk. The pundits are going to give all their information, give all their points of view on everything. And my point of view is that Gase should have been hacked a long time ago. But there's something to be said about firing a coach in mid-season and then bringing someone else on. There's no continuity there. There's nothing at all.
Yeah.
You just don't do that. Now, if you want to fire your defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator and you take over play calling, something like that, that's different. But, and Tom knows this. He knows that his team is playing well for Marone, even though the record doesn't show it. He knows that. So he's not going to be getting rid of Marone right off the bat here. Now, New York could have a different way of analyzing their quarterback situation and their head coaching situation. I don't even know who the GM of the Jets is. So whoever it is, he's got a big job ahead of him, though, because he's going to need a good coach, and he's going to need a good coach with an offensive mind.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's I don't know. It's just insane everything that's going on with the Jets, and the GM is Joe Douglas currently, and that's where we are right now. So I mean, the one thing I could say about the Jets is they make the Jaguars look good. So I'll give them that credit. There's only 4 teams eliminated from the playoffs in the NFL this season. That is the Los Angeles Chargers, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the New York Jets. Even though the Dallas Cowboys are the 4th worst team in the NFL because they're in the worst division of the NFL, at 3-9, which is the same record as the Chargers, they're still in playoff contention, which is insane. But the 2 worst teams in the league, the Jets are the worst, 32nd, 0-12. The Jaguars are 31st at 1-11. That's where they sit right now. The best team right now, Pittsburgh, then Kansas City, then New Orleans, then Green Bay, Buffalo, Cleveland, believe it or not, the Rams, the Titans, the Seahawks, the Dolphins are 8-4. The Colts, the Bucks are 7-5, the Raiders are 7-5. Crazy things that are happening here. The Patriots are 500, the Cardinals are 500. The Giants are close to being 500. PJ, what's your biggest surprise of the season? Is it that Washington defeated Pittsburgh, who is the only undefeated team in the country? Is it that the Bills are in the top 5? Is it that the Browns are in the top 6? Is it where the Patriots are? Is it where the Ravens are at 7-5? What's your biggest surprise?
I think the best I can say that the best way I can describe it is that how the team plays and how they're playing other teams. I think Washington fits that bill. They're giving up almost as many points as they're scoring. I mean, they're not in a lot of games, but they're still 5-7. They didn't expect to win this year. They got rid of Haskins. Now they bring in the guy from Carolina. He got hurt. So Alex Smith, who is a walking miracle, comes in and throws for 1 million yards, and they start winning games. I mean, Alex Smith. Look at Andy. You ask Andy Reid about Alex Smith. They'll tell you he's the best player he's ever coached. That's including Patrick Mahomes. That you heard it here. So Alex Smith with bum legs has a heart as big as the stadium and is actually pulling it through. I love Washington. Love it.
Yeah, and Washington. I mean, I think the thing is that number one, that Alex Smith is alive. Number 2, that he can walk. Number 3, that he can still play football. Number 4, that he's on the roster. Number 5, that he's starting. Number 6, that he's winning. There's a lot of reasons to be happy if you are the man that they call Alex Smith. And it's a beautiful, amazing story about never giving up, about believing in yourself. He might have been the only person that believed in himself. He could have had friends and family members going, listen, you're done playing football. You're nuts if you think you're going to play. I can't imagine that this man had people going, yeah, you're definitely going to be back. Maybe he did. Maybe he had some people in his family and his friends that said that. But the fact that he was able to do what he's done and come back and believe in himself and have that faith and have that desire and have that, drive to do it. I mean, PJ, above all things, whether you're a Washington fan or not, whether you're a football fan or not, to see somebody like Alex Smith, that transcends everything. It doesn't matter what job you work, what relationship you have, where you live, how much money you got, what your religion is, what your background is, what your nationality is. When you see a guy like Alex Smith, when you see a woman out there with a story as incredible, it makes me think of Robin Roberts, who was at ESPN and then got cancer, went on to ABC, and then it was like, okay, well, what's going to happen? And then I saw her a couple days ago doing her thing. So I mean, there's something to be said about the people that just never give up, and they are a beacon of hope for all of us, not just football players, not just the Washington team in this case, but Alex Smith he's a light, and he's a positive in a year that's been really trying on people, and I think that anyone could learn from the adversity that Alex faced and the fact that he faced it head on. He got over it, and he's where he is right now because he never gave up on himself.
That's true. There are some athletes out there that some of them can respond better than others, and your man Mackenzie Milton down there, UCF now, they've been bringing him along the last couple of years and trying to get him back on the field. So what does he do? He opts out. He leaves Central Florida after Central Florida carried him for 2 years like that.
Yeah.
Now, you probably can equate that to the same situation that Alex Smith had, because they were both mega serious injuries where loss of limb was definitely predictable here. And I'm not sure about how Mill is doing. I don't follow UCF anymore, but there's got to be a story down there like that. I don't understand why he would, forsake staying with his team, the one that believed him and the one that gave him a scholarship. He's probably got his degree. Why would you opt out on a team and a school like that that's already given you your education?
Yeah, and Mackenzie Milton, 2 years it's taken him to come back. Like Alex Smith, there was a time where this was way beyond football. There was a notion that they might have to amputate on Mackenzie Milton with the injury that he had, and if he wasn't at his home and couldn't get to the hospital as quickly as he did, that maybe that would have happened. 2 years to come back, now he can play, and he believes he should go elsewhere because Dylan Gabriel is the starter on the team. I think Syracuse should call him. I would be amazed if they didn't. Actually, I wouldn't be amazed if they didn't, because for some reason they do things that don't make sense to me. But Mackenzie Milton should be called, and he should have been called the second he was in the portal. Allegedly, Mike Norvell of Florida State has made that call. And if he ends up at Florida State, well, Syracuse will have to play Florida State, and they'll see what it's like to make a bad decision. So, Mackenzie Milton is a true talent. He's a fantastic player, and I have watched him. He was a Heisman hopeful a couple of years ago. He's incredible, and I don't knock him for moving forward, because when I looked at it and I kind of read, like, he met with Josh Heupel, the head coach, and he met with Dylan Gabriel, a good friend of his, and he just didn't feel that it was right that, like, oh, now I'm back, so now everything that happened the last 2 years got to be pushed aside. So, if he really is taking one for the team, I credit him for that. I know he's also probably looking to play in the NFL. He wants to get exposure. So, some of that's going to be personal, and some of that's going to be team-oriented. And I understand that decision. I understand he's got to look out for himself, but he's also caring about them. And I give him credit for that. Do I want to see him in black and gold? Of course I do. Do I want to see him push UCF to great heights like he already has? Of course I do. Was he a part of the fact that they won 25 games in a row? Of course he was. He was a massive part of that, getting hurt toward the end of that and unable to play in the bowl game where they lost and could have won their 26th game in a row. So I don't knock him for what he did, Papa Joe. I wish him the absolute best. And all I have to say is he would look good in orange and blue.
Okay.
So, but to stay with quarterbacks, Carson Wentz every single season, unfortunately, gets hurt. When he gets hurt, he gets replaced. Well, Nick Foles was the guy that was always replacing him. Nick Foles isn't there anymore. So, Nick can't take his place. So they draft Jalen Hurts. And people ask why. Jalen Hurts, a guy that was at Alabama and then transferred himself before coming to the NFL. And the question was, why would you draft Jalen Hurts right now when you got Carson Wentz? And now Carson Wentz is being benched, not because he's hurt, but he's being benched because the coaching staff obviously feels like they have a better shot with Jalen Hurts, at least to start the game. Fletcher Cox came out on social media and said, quote, Carson is my best friend, he's my guy. I've always had his back since day one. Jalen, he's my teammate also, so you got to support whoever's in there. It's the NFL. And we understand that things happen. It sucks for a guy like Carson to be put in that position because it just never comes down to one guy. There are 11 guys on the field. With that being said, my tweet is my tweet, and I stand with it. End quote. That coming from defensive tackle Fletcher Cox. Now, Jason Kelsey, the center on the team, he said, quote, the moment he came in his rookie year, he transformed our offense, and that's not just as a player. That's him as a person. That's the intelligence he brings, the athleticism he brings, the competitiveness he brings, made a tangible difference in practice every day and on game day. So it's kind of hard to believe we're at this point, to be honest with you. This is ultimately a culmination of a lot of failures on offense. This comes down to more of a failure of every position, including coaches, to facilitate a functioning offense. That's the biggest story here. Not that Jalen Hurts is picked and there was some sort of internal battle and struggle going on with Carson Wentz. I don't buy that. End quote. He also went on to say, the first and foremost job of being a Philadelphia Eagle is to be a good teammate. And that entails giving of yourself to others everything you can to help the person next to you succeed. So obviously it's a bad situation personally for the career of some guys, but we had a good team here. We have a good team here in terms of everybody wants everyone to do well. We have a good culture. In particular, Carson Wentz is an incredible teammate. So I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to do everything he can to help Jalen Hurts succeed. And I think anybody who isn't doing that for all of their teammates should be on the first ticket out of here because that's not the culture or the team that I want to be on, end quote. So the center, very well-spoken and outspoken, saying, listen, I'm not against Jalen, but I don't like this choice. And he called out the coaching staff and said, listen, problems on this Philadelphia Eagles team are not just Carson Wentz. It's about everybody involved, including our coaches, giving us a functioning offense. Thoughts?
You know, Carson Wentz is he's the kind of quarterback I like to call a pass coordinated control person. That's what I like to say. He doesn't throw the ball 30 yards down the field. 5 yards here, 4 yards here, backswing not as fast to a first down, tight end for 6 yards. So the guy completes 35 passes and only could throw for maybe 200 yards. I mean, that's ball control passing. Yeah. A lot of teams do that, and that's what he does. He does best. I mean, maybe he's not audibling right. The future in Philadelphia goes through Carson Wentz. There's nothing wrong with Carson Wentz as a quarterback, and I'll tell you, there's nothing wrong with Peterson either. Peterson is a sharp guy, but he's looking for a spark. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Jalen Hurts is a wonderful athlete. I mean, to watch him play when I did when he was at Alabama, and then watch him play there at Oklahoma a couple of games, he's an incredible athlete. Does that transition to a quarterback for the NFL? Well, I just mentioned a couple names before. No, it doesn't. And Jalen Hurts is not an NFL quarterback. I mean, you can scream all you want about it. You can beat me up, whatever you want to say, but he's not an NFL quarterback, and he may never be, but he's good at what he's doing right now. If he thinks he can come in and complete 5 out of 12 passes for 100 yards and one of them was a touchdown, then I guess that's okay. But I don't look for Jalen Hurts to move the team going forward that much. Certainly, he's a threat with the football to run. don't get me wrong. I'm not bad-mouthing him. I think he's a wonderful young man. He's a great athlete. My goodness. I mean, I can't expound on it enough.
Yeah.
He's just a good athlete. It's just he doesn't work as a quarterback. He doesn't work as an NFL quarterback. He doesn't work like Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson's a running quarterback, and I don't want to see him get hurt. You hear that every week on me. I don't want to see him get hurt. And Jalen Hurts is a poor man, Lamar Jackson. Then you got little Kyler Murray over there, who's about 5'8", and you can see him zipping around, zipping the ball every which way. Some of these quarterbacks do it well, and some of these quarterbacks can't. And it's not that Jalen Hurts is not from a program where he doesn't know how to win. He certainly knows how to win with playing for Nick Saban. But college is the speed of the game of the pros is so much faster than what these kids play with major college football. It's difficult to adjust to. So I think that he's going to be usable in the future. I'd like to see him throw for 400 yards. If someone called me up and say, "Hey, you were wrong about this thing," I said, "Well, good. That's okay. That's fine."
Yeah. And the reality of it all is, we're going to see what Jalen Hurts can do. I didn't anticipate we're going to see him like this. Definitely not this season, but it's happening. So obviously, Doug Peterson thinks that they could do something with him and they could change things up. He played for Alabama for 3 seasons. Obviously, didn't play all the way through, but while he was at Alabama, he was able to total 48 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. His one season last season at Oklahoma, he had 69.7% completion percentage, his best he's ever had. 3,851 passing yards, the best he's ever had. 32 touchdowns, the best he's ever had, to only 8 interceptions. So that's what he had most recently as he steps in as a starter. And obviously we've seen him a little bit, but we'll see what he can do as the outright starter moving forward. And moving forward, before we make our picks, PJ, LSU has self-imposed a ban on a season where they're 3-5. What a great thing to do. Hey, NCAA, we know we've been investigated. We want to show you our commitment to excellence and our commitment to following the rules. We won't play a bowl game in a year where we're not going to go to one. Just want to let you know. So LSU, now, the NCAA could still let them go to a bowl game if they didn't have this ban, because the eligibility requirements due to COVID-19 have obviously changed, because you want to make sure you have enough teams for the bowls that are being played. But LSU is not going to be in a bowl game this season. It's a self-imposed ban that came down this Wednesday, December 9th. LSU is 3-5 with 2 games remaining on the schedule, so it doesn't look like they're going to a bowl game at all. They self-imposed a law, the ESPN reported that LSU had self-imposed a loss of 8 scholarships over 2 years, reduction in recruiting visits, evaluations, and communications, and they have banned Odell Beckham Jr. from the team for 2 years from the facilities. LSU's football program is charged with a Level 3 violation involving Odell Beckham Jr., a former Tigers player who gave $2,000 in cash to 4 Tigers players on the field after their 42-25 victory over Clemson in the College Football Playoff National Championship back on January 13th. Now, in a statement released by LSU, they said this represents their, quote, commitment to compliance with NCAA regulations and maintenance of institutional control, end quote. Head coach Ed Orgeron said, quote, I respect the university's decision to proactively address NCAA issues from the past. I share the disappointment of our student athletes who will not be able to compete this season in a bowl game. I am especially proud of our players' dedication in the program during these unprecedented times in our country. Their pride in LSU will be the driving force as we continue to build a championship program. Go Tigers, spelled Geaux, end quote on that one. So that coming from him, that's great to say. I have one question, though. I have 2 questions. Why is the NCAA accepting you self-imposing a ban in a season where you're 3-5, number one? And number 2, if they were 8-0, PJ, and vying for the college football playoff, I guarantee you there would be no ban this season. Which is more of a statement than a question.
You're right. It sounds to me like this Coach O is just coaching for his job as well. If he was desirable of this type of situation, it goes to show his powers to be that just because I'm down this year, I understand what happened.
Yeah.
Odell's a jerk. He did these stupid things, and we're going to have to pay for it. Hey, let's get it out in the open. I'm not going anywhere this year. Let's do it this year and not worry about it. Let's get our scholarships back up. Let me do my recruiting out there, and let me get it done right. Right now, he's, I don't know, number 3 and 4 in recruiting. He's always going to recruit well. But Coach O, next year will be playing for his job, because I don't care if you won a national championship one year. It's what have you done for me lately? And Coach O is really under the gun.
Yeah, so, I mean, the reality of it all is you're in the SEC. You win a championship, you go 3 and 5, they forget about that and want to fire you. So,
Right.
it's a very interesting situation, though, to do what they have done in saying we're gonna abide by the NCAA and show them how much we care about their rules by not going to a bowl game in a year where we have a losing record. And the reality of the facts of, like I said before, if this team was vying for a national championship, they wouldn't be imposing a ban. It must be nice to impose. It's like saying I'm not going to pay for tickets to a concert I don't want to go to. So I guess it works. Some teams can get away with that stuff. Georgia at Missouri, PJ. Let's do our picks of the week here as Harvey Grant's on deck. Georgia at Missouri. Any chance that Missouri trips up Georgia, who is in the top 10, Missouri now in the top 25. Since losing to Florida 41-17, they defeated South Carolina on the road, and then home against Vandy, home against Arkansas in a shootout 50-48. Any chance Missouri shocks anyone, or is this all Georgia?
This is all Georgia. Georgia's got a lot to play for still. They're gonna wind up with a major bowl game. They can wind up the season with only 2 losses, and I think that's enough for them. I think that they're more than capable of pulling off this win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Georgia in this one as well. I mean, the SEC is obviously doing their thing and working hard to get these good bowl games and obviously representing the college football playoff per always. So with that being stated, I'm going to go with Georgia in this matchup. Like you said, a lot to play for, and I think that they're going to be able to handle this game on the road against the Missouri Tigers. Next game that we have to talk about here, PJ, would be Alabama, Arkansas. I'm not too worried about. Let's go to North Carolina at Miami. North Carolina facing off against Miami. North Carolina top 17 in the nation, despite the fact that they have a bunch of players that are in the transfer portal. And Miami, number 10 in the nation. What do you have for this?
This will be a good game. This is really going to be a game. I look for North Carolina to play hard. They probably got a shot, but Miami's probably got too many athletes, and this Derek King kid, who's just a good college quarterback, is looking like he can lead him to victory. So I'm looking for Miami over here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Miami as well, and I made mention of it, and I don't have to repeat it here, but just to make a note, Derek King played for Houston, and I talked about him on Houston and was watching him on Houston and talking with, the coaching staff with him and all that when he was doing amazing things back then, and people didn't want to know about it because he was in the American Athletic, and now that he's in the ACC, everybody's like, wow, Derek King's pretty good. I just want to remind them he's not pretty good now. He's been pretty good. And
Right.
Miami fans, you can thank Houston for finding this guy before Miami did. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Miami as well. Next game on the dockets, PJ. Well, let me ask you this one. 2 questions. Duke at Florida State. Number 1, who wins? Number 2, does Florida State allow the game to happen? Or do they, oh my goodness, tell everybody that they had a positive corona test 3 seconds before the game starts?
Poor Nobel's getting killed over there. He's going to get killed here, too. I don't think they have the balls, Daniel, to cancel this game. If they got the balls to do this after not playing 2 weeks in a row, I don't know what's going to happen up there, but that is just he's a oh boy. I like Duke. I like Duke in the game, but I just don't know. I don't know. Something's going on with FSU, and it's going to take a far smarter man than me to figure it out.
Yeah, so, that's I'm going to go with Duke in this game as well. Duke's got something to play for, and they're going to be attacking out there doing their thing. LSU at Florida, PJ. Any chance that Coach O, pulls one over on Florida, throwing everything at him, or does Florida take care of business?
Oh, this is a possible trip-up game. I really didn't want this game to happen. I really didn't. I thought maybe we could get out without playing it, but you gotta play it. Of course, I'm going to take Florida because I don't think there's any team in the country that actually stopped their offense. Florida over the last couple of weeks has only played up to their competition. Vanderbilt was not a good team. Kentucky was not a good team. Actually, Kentucky was a good team, and then Tennessee is a fair team. So just because it's the SEC, Florida had to go and win those 3 games and keep going. I think they keep going playing hard. And LSU's defense, from what I remember last year, was so good. Yeah. But they're gonna face a quarterback that's actually shooting lights out. And Kyle Trask is the front runner for the Heisman Trophy, and he's going to continue on his winning ways.
Yeah, I got Florida in this matchup as well. These guys know that they're not going to a bowl game at LSU. I mean, obviously you want to win these SEC games, but all this news coming out and things going on. I mean, LSU has not had a good season. They're going to have to look at their team, look at their recruiting, and move forward in a positive way. So I got Florida. Florida's got a lot to play for. They got a lot on the line. So I'm going to give it up to Florida and give them this victory, as they are the 6th highest team in the nation with an 8-1 record. So and they will play Bama and coming up here on December 19th. That's going to be a big old game as Florida leads the East and Alabama leads the West. And how about this, PJ? If Florida beats Alabama will probably still make the college football playoff, but Florida will too, in my opinion.
Florida needs to win this game. The worst thing that can happen to Ohio State is for Florida to win.
Yeah.
Because if Florida wins, it's going to be Florida, Alabama, Clemson, and Notre Dame. Forget about Ohio State. Not going to happen. You can't play 5 games and not play 5 games and try to sneak into this playoff. Not going to happen. Even that leaves Texas A&M out too.
Yeah.
I mean, Florida has to be. If Florida beats Alabama, it's going to be Florida, Alabama, Clemson, and Notre Dame. Take that to the bank.
I agree with you, and I'm there with it, and I'm excited for the opportunity. I hope Florida makes it. I hope we get to see that happen. Florida or Texas A&M would be great to see one of those two in there. Florida's got a shot to make it happen. So with that being said, PJ, I appreciate you as always. Thank you so much. Please take care of the fort down in Florida, in my second home, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And I always appreciate talking with you.
Okay, bro. See you later.
Take care. That coming from Papa Joe here, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we will be joined by Harvey Grant. Harvey Grant, who played in the NBA with his brother Horace, and now is the father of Jaron Grant and Jeremy Grant, who are both playing in the NBA. So pretty cool to not only get to do it himself with his brother, but to coach or to oversee and be the father of 2 brothers that are doing the same thing in the Grant family. So a truly amazing story from a truly amazing family coming up next.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvelange, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant.
Folks, some sports bars aren't family friendly. Some family friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat Family Friendly Sports Pub and Restaurant.